Alright, so I'm back out here again. I'm actually in a good spot. Let's take a look at this for a second. Look at all that. Just barren wasteland, right? Back here. It used to just be all farmers field back here. But I guess they're developing it into some kind of apartment complex. They're gonna move all this dirt around. They're gonna redistribute it all. They're gonna put pavement and buildings over it, and it's gonna look terrible. Like I live in this area, like not exactly here. I don't live here. Like a ways out from here. I do just like a couple dozen meters that way actually, but it kind of sucks to see, like such a beautiful landscape just kind of get bulldozed over and just have some new apartments put over it in like this relatively small town that I live in, and that's kind of a shame. Yeah, and that kind of fits with like the overall theme of what I want to make this video about, which is low mood, sadness. Some may call it depression in extreme cases, and kind of like how we deal with that. I wanted to talk about, right? Because especially during this time of year, the holidays are done. It's late January, early February. Everything's dead. Right? There's some dirty snow on the ground, but that's about it. Nothing really looks nice. All the trees are bare. It's cold out. My hands are freezing. Everything's frozen over. And yeah, like I said, the holidays are done. People usually head down to Florida or something during this time of year. I think depression rates are highest when the weather's like this and the time of year is like it is, because really you got not a lot to look forward for, at least for a couple of months in terms of holidays and good weather and stuff like that. So how do we deal with this, really? I mean, when the low mood gets to us, like that's just part of being human, but how do we deal with those emotions, I think, is the more important part. It's not important that you feel these emotions, but what you do about them, what you do with them, right? So some people, they turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol to kind of, lift up their mood. They try and hide away from these negative feelings, from this overall neuroticism and stuff like that. They try to drown their depression, however slight or extreme that may be, in just hedonism and just constantly getting new dopamine. It's just trying to feel good all the time, right? Video games, drugs, alcohol, other stuff, and all that is just gonna screw over your mental health sooner or later. It's like a vortex, and you just get sucked in the more and more you do it. And it's quite rewarding, but you don't have to work for it. And that's kind of how it hacks our brains, right? Because thousands of years ago, when humans were living like they were supposed to, I mean, they might have been like relatively tough times compared to how we're living today with our luxury and stuff, but that was back when humans were actually healthy, when nobody had cancer, when depression wasn't a thing. Now the argument might be that we're just better at diagnosing these things like depression and disease and mental health issues and autism and all this stuff. But what I think is that those are all just results of humanity as a whole just not living how we're supposed to in these modern times, right? Because we got all this weird stuff in our food that people so long ago never even would have heard of, like canola oil, sugar, fructose corn syrup. Like what even is that? Locust bean gum? Like, go to your fridge right now and just look at, I don't know, the Greek yogurt, the sour cream. Go to your snack cupboard, just check like the ingredients on all these pre-packaged foods that you're eating every day. Like, it's ridiculous, and we wonder why we get cancer from Not only those things, I mean, everyone knows that smoking is going to give you cancer, right? Inhaling dried leaves wrapped in paper that you light on fire, and then you inhale the smoke. Vaping, alcohol. Alcohol is interesting because how do you make alcohol, right? You make alcohol by distilling wheat, distilling barley, by distilling these grains for a long time, kind of fermenting them, and then they, right? They like kind of decay, they kind of break down, and they make this, they make like this bubbly substance that people like to call beer, right? And what ancient peoples would do was that they would take the remains from their harvest in the fall, right? All the remaining wheat and barley and oats and stuff, and then they would ferment those, and that stuff would turn into alcohol, and then they would drink the alcohol to get like fat, right? Because you need to be fat in the winter. That's what bears do. That's what all these animals do. They bulk up in the winter because food is more scarce, and you need that fat to keep you alive. So that's what ancient peoples did. They just used that extra fat that they got from the alcohol to stay alive during the winter. Whereas we don't really do anything with alcohol and substances besides just let them distract us from what the problems really are. That's the modern way of dealing with all these issues. It's just hedonism, and turn to these unnatural substances to just make us feel better about ourselves when our actual quality of life is just going just so steeply downhill, despite living in such luxurious times. Yeah. So what's the better way, I guess, is the $1 million question. And a lot of people talk about this, but the real answer is just taking yourself seriously, taking a stern evaluation of your life, ownership, like I've talked about before, and finding an outlet for your anxiety and your pain, finding a positive outlet for that. Maybe that may be going to the gym and just like working out and putting all of that negative emotion just like into this physical effort, or it could be into a mental effort, right? You could write stuff to deal with your negative emotion, or you could go and talk to someone like a therapist, even though I don't think modern therapy really works for men at all, because that's really just not how men deal with their emotions, or that's not even how they should deal with their emotions. But yeah, those are more healthy ways to deal with negative energy, finding a positive outlet for it. Go punching a bag when you feel anger. I mean, it's primitive. People might think you're weird if you do it, but it works. It's what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, you're not hurting anyone if you do it, and you're actually making that anger go away permanently. Even better, you could actually try to optimize your relationships through therapy and reading books about relationships and all that stuff. And, there's this whole subculture of, mental health is cringe, motivation is cringe, all these speeches, they don't mean anything. But, whatever works, right? Whatever works when you're trying to get rid of that negative emotion, as long as it's not hurting you further, like drugs or sugar or porn might do, right? Yeah. What else do I want to talk about? I mean, dealing with that anger and low emotion could be a result of your environment. I mean, it always is, but you can deal with it by changing your environment, right? Some people don't like living in places like this, right? Just look at that sky. Look at just how dead everything is. You see all that? Some people just can't handle it. Some people who mirror their environment just operate on a worse level when they're in this kind of environment, so they move down south, which, I mean, props to them. I might even try that out someday, because this weather just doesn't make me feel good, right? I may sound vulnerable or just, a little bit whiny when I say that, but I think I would function better in just a permanently sunny environment. I think it's just better for the human animal to function in, right? Yeah. And another way that people can deal with that by dealing with your environment is, you know, putting your house in order, right? This is like a Jordan Peterson talking point where it's just, oh, you know, clean your room and stuff like that. That was a terrible imitation, but it's the truth that you had to put your stuff in order. You gotta get your shit in order. You gotta get your shit together in order to be, you know, a little bit more happy with your environment, especially if you're a man, right? Because if my room's dirty, you know, that's a reflection of what's going on up here. It's just completely disorganized, or it can be organized, and I'll feel better about myself because of that. That's just one less thing you have to worry about in your life when your room is clean and everything has its place and you got a well-organized mind as well. Or you could remove toxic people in your life. You know, maybe they're the ones putting you down. You know, maybe it's your boss who's putting you down, or your parents, or your siblings, or especially your friends. If your friend is bringing you down, is making you feel bad, if they're just a low-quality person, and you have the humility to recognize that, and you know, you're looking at yourself before you look at them, and you realize that they are in fact the problem, you have the maturity to say that, then you have to get rid of them. I'm sorry, like, there's no other way. Unless you want to just stay in your depressed state, in your anxious state. You stay in just terrible mental health. So that's what you got to do with people sometimes. You just got to cut the cancer out. You got to cut the bullshit out. You got to cut your dead limb with gangrene that's constantly talking to you in a negative way and making you feel bad about yourself. You got to cut that off, right? And that could be a difficult thing because sometimes people get attached to abusive relatives or negative friends and stuff like that, and they won't let them go out of a sense of loyalty. And what you gotta do in those situations is just find someone else to hang around with, maybe, or just ghost them. You know, just disassociate from those people. It's gonna hurt, just like putting you know, antibiotics on a wound hurts. Just like putting dressing on a wound hurts, but it's gonna take the infection out, right? And then you can begin the healing process. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I think I've rambled on for long enough. Plus it's cold out here. So I think I'll see you later. No, I did make a video yesterday, but that was about 20 minutes long, and YouTube won't let me upload it because apparently I have to verify my account if I want to upload anything if I want to upload any video that's longer than 15 minutes. So yeah, I'll see ya. And look for that video soon.